in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio, the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. Well, I have finally found someone that has been on the internet longer than me. And I am so happy and thrilled to have him as a guest on our show today. His name is Robert Imbriale. He has been on the internet, I say, longer than me. He made his first sale online in 1989, almost 4 years before the World Wide Web became a reality. He has remained on the leading edge of online marketing and has helped thousands of entrepreneurs, professionals, and industry leaders make hundreds of millions of dollars on the internet since he began his coaching and training business in 1995. 1995 is when I was just getting online and trying to surf the web with Netscape Navigator. So Robert has been at this for a while. He is an expert, a best-selling author, speaker, seminar coach. He's the host of the Coach's Corner podcast, where he empowers entrepreneurs weekly. Robert Imbriale, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you, Ralph. Happy to be here. I'll be honest with you. I woke up this morning knowing that we were going to do this interview, and I literally jumped out of bed. So I could not wait to get here. So I'm more than excited to share with you and share some good quality value with your listeners as well.
Well, it's a real pleasure to connect with you after all of these years. And we were chatting off air, and I mentioned that I believe you are probably the first person that I ever purchased marketing information from on the internet. And I've purchased Jay Abraham. I have purchased Dan Kennedy. But you, Robert, are the first book that I ever bought. And can I remember the name of it? No, but the impression that it gave me, and the interest that it awakened in me, it set my path. It set my course into trying to understand marketing and psychology and now strategic communication. But all of it was triggered by a little ebook that I bought from you. It's been 30 years ago.
Ooh, don't mention that number. That's scary.
But I think we both look good for our age. It's not like we are old geezers or anything, but in internet years, we're old, and you are a pioneer. You are a person who has laid a foundation. All these new whippersnappers coming up. They've got all these shiny new objects and techniques and hacks for things, but you have been steadily building your business, adding value, and giving a solid foundation for success and results for years and years and years. So I want to learn all that I can in the time that we have and share that value with our listeners. First, I want to ask you how you got started in this direction. What motivated you to get into marketing and then to get into online marketing?
That's a great question. And I always look at it when I look at business owners. I say, the younger you are, where you can figure out what your direction is, the better off you're going to be in your career. So for me, this happened pretty early. About 6 years old, literally 6 years old, I started to have, some interest in selling and sales. And that was kind of weird. At 6 years old, here's a guy, a little kid, he's trying to sell stuff, right? Yeah. And that continued throughout high school. I remember being in high school and the career counselor was never there. He was never in the office, but they had all these pamphlets laying around and you could look at different careers. You could be a dog groomer. You could be an accountant. You could be a lawyer, the regular stuff. And then there was this oddball one called advertising copywriter. And I don't know why, but that one just caught my attention, and I would keep going back and rereading. It was just a little pamphlet, like 4 pages, and I would read it again and again and again. And somehow, I got attracted to this idea of advertising. I had another passion as well, which was for photography, photo video. So my college degree is in mass communications. I have another college degree as a commercial photographer. And at graduation, I was the only kid within 20 years the school was in operation. I was the only one to graduate and have an operational studio in downtown Montreal.
Wow.
The dean of the school came down and wanted to see what I was doing. But that was because I had this entrepreneurial bent. This is sort of the background of everything that I do. Always wanted to turn something into a business and turn something into money, right? So, I started and I said, I have to have a studio. So after there, I moved to New York City and was working for one of the largest commercial studios. I was on 17th and Broadway in Manhattan, and I was working for one of the large photographers there as a studio manager. And I thought that was really great, but there was a problem. There was no path up. I was already at the top of the ladder. If I was going to go up, I had to open my own studio. And I thought, well, I really don't have $80,000, $100,000, whatever it would take to open up a studio. This is New York after all. And I started to ask questions like, where's the money coming from? There's always a good question to ask in any business you're in. Where's the money come from? Where does it flow? And at the time, it was flowing from the advertising agencies. They were hiring this studio to do the photos that we needed for like Seagram's and Macy's and Subway and you name it. We had jewelry. We had Sony. We had RCA. All these companies we weren't dealing directly with them. We were dealing with the ad agency. So I said, I need to get into advertising. Here's the thing, right? So I got into advertising, had this great title. Everyone said, oh, wow, what a great title. You must be doing well. Truthfully, it was a glorified sales position with no money. So I kept looking and I said, I've got this passion for photography and passion for marketing, passion for advertising, all this stuff. And then I discovered this thing called marketing. Now, marketing is kind of interesting because it is often associated with sales. We say sales and marketing in the same breath.
That's right.
So I took a continuing education class at Farmingdale, New York. If people know from Long Island, there's a little college there. And I took a continuing education class. It was during the summer, and it was a marketing class. And the teacher, the first night said, okay, who can define marketing? So boldly, I raise my hand and I go, marketing is selling. And he goes, no, it's not. And I was like, ooh, I better pay attention to this one. So marketing is really hard to define for a lot of people. And that's where they'll initially go wrong, is they don't understand what marketing is. And a very simple way that I explain marketing is everything you do, underline everything you do up until the phone rings. When you pick up the phone, now you're doing sales.
Yes.
Clear, right? Easy to understand.
I love that.
So the umbrella of marketing was great for me because it allowed me to continue my passion for photography, video production. Today it's live webcasting, podcasting, copywriting, advertising. All of it fits under the umbrella of marketing. So when you say, what do you do as a marketer? Pretty much everything. So, it went from there. And then in 1995, I got involved with what's his name? He's really tall, big teeth, bad attitude. Tony Robbins. That's the guy. Yeah. So I became enamored with that. I fell in love with the content there, psychology, human potential, personal development, and went through all of his trainings, became a trainer with his organization, and then moved to Chicago from New York. And I was a head coach and coach's trainer for his franchise there for a couple of years, coached over 2,000 people face-to-face in 2 years.
Wow. That's 2,000 people in 2 years? 2,000.
Yeah. And it was 12-hour days, almost 7 days a week, one after another.
Wow.
10, 12 people a day, coaching. I would come home from those experiences and fall on the couch and fall asleep. Forget about eating, forget about showering, forget about getting changed for bed. I gave it all. And after 2 years, I completely burned out. And I said, okay.
The one-to-one model, the one-to-one coaching model did not work for you at that time.
I was overdoing it.
Yeah.
I was too passionate about it. It's typical entrepreneur, right? I'm going to do it 100%.
Yeah, all or nothing, right? All in.
All in, my friend, all in. And so that's what happened. And then I realized I took a step back when I burned out, and I said, okay, I need to do something different here. And this was at the year 2000. I decided to leave Chicago and move to San Diego. And I said, well, better weather, clear, better quality of life. I'm doing this. And when I moved to San Diego, I decided that I loved working with the Tony Robbins material, but helping people fix their relationships, fix their marriages, and help them with all this other stuff was really great. But what I was really passionate about, one step above, was working with the entrepreneur. And really looking at them and saying, okay, these guys, they're passionate about what they do. They are, in fact, for the most part, masters at what they do. Where they fail is when it comes time to do their marketing. So what if I brought the psychology, the personal development piece, to the marketing and melded those two? And that gave me the book Motivational Marketing that I wrote in 2006. Right? So it's a unique gift. It's a unique blend of things. I work with a lot of business owners who come to me oftentimes, and what they'll do is they'll say, I need a new marketing strategy. To be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, that's not what they need. Right? It's a personality thing. It's fears. It's beliefs that are in the wrong direction. And when you start correcting those, all of a sudden the things they already have in place start working better. And they wake up to that and they go, wow, we didn't need a new funnel. We didn't need a new shopping cart. We didn't need a new merchant provider. We didn't need a new website, right? All the things that were typically sold, because those things are tangible. They're easy to see. And it's easy to tell someone with a current website that your website sucks.
Yeah.
I think you ought to spend $20,000 to build a new one.
Yeah.
And what happens is they'll spend the $20,000 believing the sales presentation, and they get there and nothing happens.
Right.
But now they're $20,000 poorer.
Boy, I have seen that happen too many times in a agency situation, especially when you're staffed with specialists, and the copywriter will say you need killer copy, and the web designer will say you need a new website, and the brand strategist will say you need a new brand. The marketing strategist says you need a new funnel. But often what you are telling us is it's all in the mindset more so than in the marketing.
Yes, it is. And this is where a lot of these guys, probably most of them, vast majority of them, they're not wrong, but they're seeing life through their filter. So the funnel guy sees everything as a funnel, right? The website guy, the designer, sees everything in design and layout and color and all the rest of that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need these people, but they're not the end all be all solution. The solution doesn't lie there for the most part. Occasionally, someone's got a really horrible website and it's doing things, it's chasing customers away. Yeah, we'll make some changes, that kind of thing. But it isn't there. That's not where it lies. It really is, the entrepreneur, especially the solopreneur, really, the business really is their personality. It's an extension of that.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't see it that way. They say, I'm me and my business is my business. But I worked for a company before I left and went out on my own back in 1995. I was working for a company, and the fellow who was running it had some specific personality traits that were really interesting. And he hired people that were similar to him. We had 50 employees, and it was like his personality times 50.
Wow.
Right. So the company, and that's common. All companies will always be like that. So you want to make the company more successful. Where do you work? You work on yourself, right? The personal development piece. So that became, the wolf cry that I use more often than not with my clients. And they may come to me for marketing. That's fine. I'll be happy to talk to them about any marketing they want to talk about. I've been doing this for a long time. I know my way around pretty well, but I can also listen with a coach's ear. And what that means is I can listen to the words they're not saying. Right. And what you really want to find out is what's going on. What's really going on. I had a fellow, I'll give you an example of what that looks like. I had a fellow come to me, and he was selling cars, and he was all excited about his career and this and that. He says, I want to learn how to sell more cars. I'm hiring you to teach me how to sell more cars. And I said, that's great. And after about 15 minutes of talking, I asked him a question. I said, how are things at home? Dead silence. And I said, there's the problem. This is why you're not selling as many cars as you think you should be able to sell. Well, he wasn't talking to his wife. They were sleeping in separate rooms. He didn't have a relationship with his kids. Guess where we have to work?
Yeah.
That's the work. That's where it is. You can't disconnect yourself and say, okay, my home situation is horrible, but I'm going to forget about that. Close the door. I'm going to go into my business. It's going to be fine.
Well, and that's exactly the tagline of our show, is helping you build the business you need for the life that you want.
Right.
It's not building a business at the expense of your life or causing your life to suffer because you're so engrossed in business. And it's really easy to go there especially when you are a solopreneur, especially when you don't really understand marketing, or you think you understand it and you think it's all about the hustle and learning tips and hacks and tricks. But then your home life is falling apart. So I am all about building a business you need, but the purpose, as Michael Gerber would say, that the purpose of a business is to give you more life. And if the business isn't giving you more life, it will inevitably do the opposite. It'll take the life that you've got.
It sure will. So in my vernacular, I say lifestyle first, and then we build a business that supports the lifestyle.
Perfect.
That's what I tell my clients. I say, if that business is not supporting your lifestyle, if it's infringing on your ability to have joy in your life, you're not going to go anywhere.
Now you work with entrepreneurs, professional service providers, industry leaders. We've talked about mindset and the misunderstanding about what marketing is. It's not selling, and that's one of my pet peeves as well. I get inundated with people who want sales help. But selling is not marketing. It's different. Sitting at the Pentagon planning the attack is different from actual boots on the ground leading the attack.
Yep.
And I'm the strategist up in the Pentagon, planning these war efforts. But what they're trying to get is boots on the ground without a plan. So we've talked about some of the challenges of understanding what marketing actually is, and then the mindset, the life and work balance. In addition to those, what do you think? I've got a theory. I want to see what you think about it. What's the biggest problem you see when you're trying to help people to really grasp what it is they need to do in their business and what it takes to be successful in marketing their business online? What are they struggling with?
It boils down to one word, and that word is fear. And I work with a lot of business owners, help them build a mailing list, for instance. This is the sort of the classic example. They've got a mailing list, and they say, how many times have you mailed your list in the last 6 months? Well, I haven't. Why not? Well, I'm afraid of what people might think.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of getting accused of spamming or this or that. Or I will give them a marketing letter and say, send this marketing sales letter out to your list. And they edit the letter and they remove the marketing. They leave the content and they remove the marketing, right? Because they're afraid to be seen as, a salesperson. So it always boils down to fear. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. And working with chiropractors, it's the same thing. And you can understand they really don't want to be seen as a salesperson. They want to be seen as a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? They have a stature in our society and they want to be seen as that. And the truth is they are not in the traditional medical community. They do have to sell. They do have to build their own practice. They are entrepreneurs, right? And if you can get them over the fear and show them that marketing doesn't have to be strong arm tactics, it doesn't have to be disingenuous. It can be honest. It can be straightforward. It can be caring. It could be loving. And when you get them to that point and they can see that, then they go, oh, I can do this. And sure enough, when they get it, they do it. So fear, it always boils down to fear. That's the big thing. And there's also this issue that I work with looking for congruency in a person. So we all set goals, right? That's our thing. We're going to go set a goal, especially New Year's Eve. Oh my gosh.
Right.
We're all setting goals New Year's Eve, and there's grandiose goals. We're feeling good. We're partying. We're having a great time. The new year is coming, fresh slate. And we have all this energy around it. And then a strange thing happens January 1st. All of a sudden, they don't feel the energy around the goals anymore. And you say, so what happened? What just a few hours ago you were there and now you're having doubts. That's the fear creeping in. That's where it starts to creep in. So the goal is what I call the desire. I desire, for instance, $1 million of my business this year. That's fantastic. And what I ask them is, what is your expectation that that's going to happen? And right away they'll tell you, oh, I fully expect that it'll happen. But if you dig down, you realize they really don't expect it. So you set the goal and your expectation, your belief that it's going to happen is not in alignment with that. What are the odds it's going to happen?
Very low, if anything at all.
Right. It diminishes to the point of, by January 5th, what New Year's resolution? I don't remember setting one, right? That's where it normally goes. And it doesn't matter if it's New Year's. It could be any time of the year. But for New Year's,
next year, it's going to be different. Next year is going to be my year, right?
Every time, every single time. And then you ask them the next step is, what are the actions you're going to take to make your business $1 million business this year? And you get deer in the headlights. Right? Because they have no expectation that it's going to happen. So if you can set a goal that isn't so grandiose, and a lot of people say, make your goals as big as possible. I say, not necessarily.
Right.
Make your goals as believable as possible. So you could start with, you know what? I'm going to have pizza for dinner tonight. Seriously, you start there and you say, okay, that's my desire, my expectation that I know where to get the pizza. It's going to be easy.
Yeah, you've got a plan, right? You've got action steps.
Yeah, you got the action. You know where to go. You order it and they deliver it or whatnot. You've got it. So start with the easy stuff and start building momentum off of that and make your things a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging, a little bit more, but still within the realm of believability. Yeah, the challenge is when you don't believe it. That's when you derail yourself.
I love that, and I hear some of Tony Robbins in there, but I also see your own distinctions and improvements over Tony. Where, for example, one distinction I've made where people will talk about take massive action. The challenge with that is if you take massive action, but you don't know where you're going, you don't have clarity where you're going. All you end up doing is get to where you don't want to be faster and more efficiently.
You kick up a big cloud of dust.
Yeah.
Looks like you're doing something. It's busy work. A lot of people get involved in doing busy work. I've been busy all day. I've had so much to do. Where are you going on your goals? Are you moving forward? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right? So when you normally hear, well, you're not doing it right then.
Yeah.
So massive action is sort of the last step in the process. First is the desire. Second is the expectation. And third is the action. And people will start with the action because that's easy. I'm going to go buy a new course. I'm going to set up a new funnel. I'm going to buy a new website. I've got, and they're there, but they don't have the other two pieces in place. So they fail before they begin.
What can someone begin to do right now that, and I think there's a lot of people listening that they'll recognize their behaviors in what you're saying. Is there something we can do to simplify our marketing, simplify our life, simplify our business in a way that we can get the success that we want without driving ourselves crazy?
Jim Rohn used to say that the best investment you can make is investment in yourself.
Yes.
And I completely and truly believe that that's true. And people say, well, how do I build my business? And it really is invest in yourself. We all have childhood wounds. Let's face it, it's true. We all have childhood wounds. We have stuff where we were rejected, stuff where we were told no 100 million times. There's all these things that come up, and they continue to play out because our patterning is actually set before we're age 7. Right? So our basic formatting, the basic operating system that we're working with is formed by the time we're age 7. Did we know who we were at age 7?
Well, I didn't.
Nobody did, right? So you end up with, you come out of that and you say, okay, now I'm an adult and I'm still operating under the same systems that I had when I learned when I was 7 years old. And we laugh at that, but it's the absolute truth.
That's
so
right.
Really you have to work on yourself. You've got to be able to dig into that stuff and say, okay, I know I have a fear of being criticized. I know I have a fear of what will people think, which is very evident on social media today, right? Everyone puts their best foot forward, never shows you the real side of them.
Right.
Right. And we do that because we don't want to be what? We don't want the criticism. We don't want the negative feedback. We don't want to say, what are you thinking?
Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, and all of those fears.
We've all got them. And Tony Robbins, you brought him up. One of the things that he did very early on at 19 years old, sat on the beach and recognized that he had these fears. And then that's when he got involved and he found NLP to solve that issue. So his whole seminar, Unleash the Power Within, the tagline to it is fear into power.
Excellent.
Right? So you want to take those fears. You want to say, okay, I know I have those fears, but they're mostly an illusion. Most of that stuff isn't going to happen. Most of the story we've been telling ourselves for years will never happen. So it's really getting people back into their power and recognizing, hey, you've got a lot more here to offer than you realize. And if you stop being afraid to offer it and stop being afraid of stepping out on that big stage, and stop listening to the critics because they're there, and so the inner critic is probably the worst of them, you're going to create great things. So where do you start? What's the easiest thing you can do to fix your marketing is fix you.
And that's really. But that's really not that easy though. That's kind of hard. I don't want to work on myself. I just want to make money.
Exactly. And if you find the people who go after the money, you'll find that they'll have it for a short time, but when they get it, they are miserable. And you say, what is going on there? They have everything. Look at the house, look at the car, look at the money. They have the women, they have everything, but they're empty.
Yeah.
And that's the worst place you want to be because there's nowhere else to turn at that point. And that's why you see a lot of our movie stars, actors, actresses, musicians doing weird things like committing suicide and overdosing and things like this because they're miserable. It does not make them happy. So the trick is make yourself happy first, and then you'll go after the money, and then everything's going to be fulfilled.
Yeah, and then the joy is in the journey, not in
exactly.
Not in achieving some idea of business success that once we get it, we realized like Stephen Covey has said, that we're spend all of our life climbing the ladder, and then we get to the top and realize that it is leaning against the wrong wall, and we have to start all over again, or we fall off that ladder perhaps, and
yeah, exactly.
we awaken to the reality.
So yeah, your answers are inside, and the real success happens when you work on you, and then it becomes clearer what to do next in terms of, do I need a new website? Do I need a new funnel? That's the appropriate time to have that conversation, not before.
Yeah. So there's every day, and I'm sure our listeners can relate to this, and you can relate to it as well. You probably get all kinds of emails and marketing, and you see advertising of people offering the latest and greatest marketing thing that if you don't have this tool or if you don't have this method or this approach, then you can't possibly succeed in business. I wanted to ask you, how do we maintain our focus and not be distracted by all of those things, which may be good, but I get the sense that people are selling a piece of the puzzle and it's a 1,000-piece puzzle.
It's been that way since the beginning. I don't know if you remember Corey Rudel.
Yes.
Back in 1995, he really got started with basically spam email back then because there were no email services, right? And I was doing large bulk emailing back then too, and starting to see the results. And one of the things that he did is he created a course, and it was the full puzzle. It was everything. It was all the pieces. And I thought that's the most brilliant thing. And when he passed away, I'd set out on a journey to create another course that would be like that, would give you all the pieces of the puzzle. Because you're absolutely right. Everything that's being sold out there is one piece. And the real question that's never answered in the marketing copy, is this the right piece for me?
Right.
And how do you know if it's the right piece for you? Is you got to do the internal work. You've got to really make a clear decision on where you're going. And then it's easy to sort through this stuff and say this either fits or it doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you stop considering it. Done.
Mm-hmm.
It either fits or it doesn't. And it's a black and white answer.
Excellent. But again, you have to be really clear about who you are, what you're trying to accomplish, how you need to build your business to give you the life that you want. And then it's easier to kind of evaluate opportunities, and not just with marketing opportunities, but with affiliates and partners and the right kind of customers. Even if we were to find the right puzzle piece to send a flood of leads or prospects, most businesses I know, most entrepreneurs I know, they couldn't handle a flood of leads. They couldn't handle a flood of prospects, even if they were qualified. Even if they paid money, they couldn't handle the additional business. It would stress their systems. It would stress their life to the point that it could even be the very worst thing that can happen to them is to get a flood of clients and a flood of success. But their systems have never been tested to the breaking point, so they don't even realize that's a weakness.
Right, but that's how we grow, and it's okay to get to that point. I mean, that's a good problem to have, right?
Sure.
Too many customers that can't handle it.
It's better than the other.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at a lot of business owners who are kind of like lost, and those are the people who buy all these programs. And, well, I'll try this, I'll try that. But it's always with here are the keywords. When you hear these keywords, you know there's a problem. I'll see how it goes. I'll see what happens. I've invested in this course. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
What do you mean you'll see what happens? That's not a business strategy. You know what I mean? So Tony Robbins always says clarity is power, and it's absolutely true. The clearer you are, the easier it is to know what fits, what doesn't fit. And it's easy to be snookered. Some of these sales letters are really good, and they point out all the reasons why you're not succeeding. They may or may not be true, but it sounds all good. And then you buy the program and you get into it and you realize, yeah, this wasn't. And I've been there. I mean, I've invested more than $100,000 in other people's programs, and occasionally things work, and most of the time they don't work because they're not a total fit for what I'm trying to accomplish.
Right. And I think it's important that each person remembers they are unique. Their business is unique. I mean, if you don't distinguish yourself and you don't make yourself unique in some way, unique selling proposition or a unique value proposition, then you're really going to have a difficult time. And if you are distinguishing yourself and setting yourself apart, then there's not going to be a cookie cutter system that works for you that is just going to help you right out of the box. You still have to apply some understanding, some wisdom to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. If you want a business that's a cookie cutter, you'll do an MLM, or you'll do multi-level marketing, or you'll do a franchise.
Yes.
Right. Those are businesses in a box, and there's a formula, there's strategy you follow, and you don't have to think too much about your marketing. It's usually handled for you, and all you are is in the role of selling. So that's one way of going. But if you're a true entrepreneur and you've got your own thing and you want to do it your own way, you've got to figure a lot of this stuff out. There's people who can help you, but they're going to require time to really understand your business and what your vision is. And if you don't have a vision, they can't help you.
Yeah. Now you have spent most of your life and a big portion of your professional career helping our listeners, people who are entrepreneurs, professionals, coaches, consultants, speakers, authors. If someone is in this position and they're trying to get clarity and they need to take first steps in the right direction, what program or product or service do you offer that would be the best way to get started with you?
The best way that I would suggest somebody's in that position is they're not going to get it by reading a book. They're not going to get it by watching a video on YouTube. They're not going to get it by buying a program. And the reason is because from the podium, I always call it from the podium, right? We can do so much to help somebody. But since all of us are unique and we have our own battles and we have our own belief systems, the best way, the fastest way is to get a coach. Whether you hire me or you hire somebody else, get a coach. And really have them listen to your story and have them listen for the words you're not speaking and have them put you on the right path. That's going to be the fastest, most effective way to get back on track.
That makes a lot of sense. So there's no easy solutions, no cookie cutter systems. There's frameworks and business models and things that we can adapt. But what we can't predict is the human element. And each person is different. We all have our own fears that have to be overcome. We have our belief systems that have to be addressed. And so coaching and the ability to hear and to respond, to give feedback, to have accountability, to point out the blind spots, that is something that you're right. No book, no program, no video can give you that feedback. And that's why coaching will always be something that is necessary and needful. No matter how advanced we become in technology, we're never going to remove the human element or the need to be able to interact and to get feedback and encourage one another in a business and a life context.
Absolutely. It's what I call the emotional fog, right? We all get caught up in our own emotional fog, and it gets so thick sometimes that we can't see the path forward. And a coach comes along and they can't see the fog. They can see the path forward and they can guide you there. And that's why it's fast. That's why it's effective.
Well, this has really been really encouraging and really eye-opening. And what I appreciate so much about you, Robert, is you've got all kinds of tricks in your bag of marketing tricks. Most marketing people do. Whether you call them tricks or hacks or techniques or your favorite tools and methods. But what you're giving us today is transformational, not just giving us methods, but giving us a mission to improve ourselves, really build the business we need so that we can live the life that we want and achieve true success and true happiness, which is so important. And so many are missing that because they're chasing after the wrong thing. So this has really been exceptional. We're just about out of time. Any final thoughts or a word of wisdom that you'd like to share as a closing word to our listeners?
Yeah, the biggest one for me is that if you're finding that you're stuck, if you're finding you don't know what the next step is, then your real work is to find out what the next step is. And I know that sounds redundant. It sounds crazy. It sounds like, what? That's not helpful, but it is. And the truth is, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what the next step is. You've got to figure that out. You've got to get help with that.
Excellent. Well, I've been speaking and visiting with Robert Imbriale. He is a best-selling author, a speaker, seminar leader, and a business coach who has been online longer than me and made his first sale online in 1989. We have seen a lot of things come and go, but Robert is a champion. He is a super nice guy. I hope that you will visit his website, robertimbriale.com. And that address will be on our website, but it's robertimbriale.com. But if you Google him, you'll find him. So, Robert, it's been a real pleasure to connect with you and to get caught up with you. And thank you so much for being on Rebelpreneur Radio today. I really appreciate it.
It was fun, Ralph. Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.